thank you everyone for coming to 10 Ways to Future-Proof Your Salesforce Career, something that I think is in the back of everybody's minds at the moment. A little bit about me. My name is Christine Marshall. I'm the Courses Director at Salesforce Ben. I'm a Salesforce MVP. I've got 10 certifications. I've been on a bit of a certification spree recently. And in my spare time, I co-lead the Bristol Admin User Group, and I also really enjoy mentoring for supermums as well. So what we're going to cover today is we're going to take a quick look at the Salesforce economy. We're going to think about whether or not Salesforce careers are recession-proof, and then we're going to dive into the 10 ways that I think you can stand out and future-proof your Salesforce career, and then hopefully we'll have some time for some Q&A. So first up, let's have a quick talk about the Salesforce economy, and I think we all know that things are a little bit different at the moment. We're seeing quite a lot of redundancies and layoffs, and it's in the back of people's minds that their job could be at risk. Now over on that side, that is an image that you've probably seen before. There was a prediction about the Salesforce ecosystem creating 9.3 million net new jobs by 2026. And then I've also brought up this as well, because what this looks at, this is from America, but it looks at how jobs in the IT sector are going up and how they're projected to go up by 2031. So despite the current issues going on, I do think that our jobs aren't going anywhere, and I'll tell you why. Because historically, Salesforce have demonstrated stability, and they've shown a lot of resilience during previous recessions and other issues. So there's strong demand for a start. Lots of businesses have Salesforce. They rely very heavily on it for maybe one part of their business or multiple parts of their business. We know that Salesforce like to get people into fairly long contract cycles. So people can't just leave Salesforce. And even if they're considering switching to a different CRM system, there's huge costs involved in that. And we know how much effort it takes to set Salesforce up in the first place. I don't think companies are going to start shifting to alternative systems just because of the current climate. Now, Salesforce are very innovative. We have our 3 releases a year. We get lots of new functionality included in our current price. There are diverse job opportunities. It's not just admins and developers anymore. We've got business analysts. We've got all the architects. So there's a wide range of job roles and career paths. And market share. We all know that Salesforce is the #1 CRM provider, and some of the largest businesses in the world use it. So I think our jobs remain safe. So with that in mind, how can you future-proof your career? Because although I think our jobs are safe, I do think there's a lot more competition now. I think it's much harder for people to stand out. When I first started, if you had the admin cert, great, then you stood out just from that. But that's no longer the case. So first of all, stay up to date with Salesforce enhancements. And I think we should all have some goals for 2023. And that should be increasing the return on investment from your existing tech stack. So I think what we're seeing is that businesses will be reluctant to spend. They might not want to purchase more licenses, add-on products, third-party tools. And I think any Salesforce professional that can show them a greater return on investment from their existing Salesforce instance, using features that you don't already use, getting better at using it, that's going to be very, very impressive this year. And then we should be aligning our skills with future demand. And I'm not going to stop there. I want to tell you what I think those skills are going to be over the next year, over the next couple of years. First of all, Flow Builder and the automation migration. So we know that workflow rules and process builder are being retired. We have to move to Flow. You won't be able to create new workflow rules and process builders, but Hubble Diagnostics did some very interesting research, and they concluded that only 12% of declarative automation has been migrated to Flow so far, which means that there's somewhere in the region of 19 million hours of workflow rule migration and 5 million hours of process builder migration. So I think that's going to take up a lot of our time over the next couple of years. And I mean, don't come to me with your Flow questions, because I'm really honest about the fact that I find it really hard. It doesn't come naturally to me. It's the first Salesforce feature that I have not personally found very intuitive. but speak to my colleague Andrew or Andrea who's here. They are great with flow, but I think there's a learning curve. So if you're not using it actively, now's the time to skill up on that. Permission sets. So again, another retirement. Permissions on profiles are due to be retired in the spring 26 release. So we've still got some time to go. That's things like user permissions, object permissions, tabs. There's a lot going on. I would say keep an eye on the releases as we go, because they are constantly releasing new things to go in it. They've got a closed beta at the minute for user access policies, but this is going to become very important in terms of security and permissions in Salesforce going forward. So everything you kind of thought you knew about profiles and permission sets may change a little bit. I'm not going to harp on. I think most people in this room know that I love the whole dynamic product suite, but it was relatively limited, respectfully, when it first came out. Only custom objects, no mobile. Does anyone remember last year when related lists came out and there was no view all and everyone was up in uproar? Yeah, but they are enhancing it. They're working very hard. So we have dynamic forms on lots of standard objects. We have the view all option now, if you weren't aware. And we've got the mobile coming out in beta in the summer 23. So things are moving along. And if you haven't looked at this for a while because it didn't work for things like standard objects, going forward is going to be something to reevaluate. Forecasts. Okay, raise your hands if you've used forecasts or are using forecasts. Yeah, okay. Those of you that raised your hands, raise them again if you thought it was rubbish. It's a safe space, you can, yeah. So historically, forecasting was not the best. It was very limited, the use cases were limited, and it didn't have the nicest look and feel, so it was very hard to sell it to your sales teams. But in the last 2 years, I've noticed that with every release, Salesforce have added new functionality to forecasting. Loads of fun new features have come out. It's undergone a complete change of look and feel. They've even redone the forecasting setup. So where it used to be very confusing with 2 different things that you had to do, it's all now in one section, very simple setup, guides you through it. We've got things like a new forecast category of most likely. And I like this picture because this is if you use quotas, which I think you should if you use forecasts, but you'll be able to see your quota attainment as a progress bar. It's colorful. Salespeople like colors and targets. So there's all these new things. Another example here is you can show the changes in the last 7 days. Just hover, see what changed, when it changed. I think that's so simple, but so effective. And there's all these other things. You can build custom forecast pages in the Lightning App Builder. So if you haven't been keeping an eye, you might not know that all of this change has happened. Other things that have stopped people from using it before is you couldn't filter, whereas now you can. You could say, I want to build a forecast for new business. I want to build a forecast for existing business, because they're very, very different. You can do that now. So it's a good time to reevaluate forecasting in Salesforce. And then finally, this talk wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk a little bit about ChatGPT, because there's a lot of talk about it, and is it going to take over the world? Will it take over our jobs? I'm not going to talk about that. What I do want to talk about is how you can use it for your job. What can it do for you? So conversation summaries in Slack. Have you been off? Missed a week? Get those conversations summarized. You don't have to go back through all those messages. It can draft emails, schedule meetings, generate knowledge articles for your service teams. For developers, it can generate code, although be wary. It can write test classes, which I think is great. But even as an admin, if I want to learn a bit more about Apex, I can ask it. I can ask ChatGPT to tell me about Apex or what something is doing. We could use it to help us write formulas, validation rules, Excel formulas, data analysis. And then in this little bottom example, I was thinking about what would I do as an admin day to day? So I used it to help me write a help prompt. I asked it to write a short help prompt of no more than 50 words, and it did. So we can use it just in our day-to-day job to help us improve our Salesforce orgs. So number 2, become a specialist in niche products. If this appeals to you, then this could be a great way to stand out. There's a shortage of skilled professionals in CPQ and Marketing Cloud, and also fewer professionals with the knowledge to configure newer products. Think Slack, Tableau, Omnis Studio. Specialization appeals to you. This is a good way to stand out. Get certified. I know, duh. In this section, I am going to use some statistics from the Mason Frank salary survey. Don't judge me. But I do think, take them with a pinch of salt, but there are some very interesting insights that can guide us as to what we should focus on, because most people have got certifications already. There are so many certifications. You know, where do you know where to start? Now, if you're a certified admin, I've given this some thought about where you might go next if you're unsure. Platform App Builder. I think this is the next obvious choice. It's one of the top 3 certifications held by Salesforce professionals, and it's a prerequisite for most architect exams. So if you're looking to go up that pyramid, then you're going to need this one. It builds on the admin. I think it's a really fun certification to take. Next up, Sales Cloud Consultant. Sales Cloud being the original and most popular Salesforce product, so 75% of Salesforce professionals use it. There's loads of overlap from the Platform App Builder. So from my personal experience, if you do Platform App Builder, do Advanced Admin, do Sales Cloud as well. Lots of overlap. And it's number 4 on the list of certifications held, which brings me on to Service Cloud. This is number 6 on the list of certifications held, so maybe it will give you an edge because not as many people have this. And I think there's a big increased focus on customer service in the digital age. So since the pandemic and everything went online, there's a big focus here. CPQ specialist, we've touched on this. They are in short supply, they're in demand. It's notoriously tricky to learn, is what I've heard. But it's number 8 on the list of certifications that will boost your pay. Business analyst, I did this one recently myself. I loved it, I really recommend it. It was launched in 2022. The BA role seems to be increasing in visibility and importance, and it's also one of the 14 key skills, according to Salesforce, of a successful Salesforce admin. And then bonus. Now, I'm not saying that we should all write code. I don't write code. I don't want to be a developer, but we can't get away from the fact that developers are in high demand, they have higher salaries, and again, if you're thinking of that architect pyramid, then Platform Developer 1 is required for a lot of that as well. So keep that one in mind. Next up, explore Salesforce DevOps, specifically DevOps Center. It's the future of release management. In theory, in future, we should be moving away from change sets, and I know we love them, don't we? They're wonderful. But Salesforce DevOps Center should help us work better together as no-code, low-code, or pro-code professionals. And although it's DevOps, it's not just for developers. So it does have a point-and-click interface that we can use to deploy changes. It's been generally available since December 2022, and it's free. So you can go and have a go, use it. Why should you do that? Well, it has lots of benefits. Something we don't talk about often as admins. DevOps, it's all a bit developer heavy. But actually, with this tool, it's more accessible to us, and you will save time, faster, more reliable deployments, fewer bugs and errors, better collaboration, hopefully, us and them, developers and admins. I like the clear audit trail and the fact that you have version control, so if someone broke it, you know who did it. And better security due to monitoring and backup. Soft and transferable skills. People don't give enough credit to these, and if I'm really honest, I think every time I've been employed as a Salesforce admin at an end user, I was typically interviewed by sales directors and sales managers, and I don't think they hired me for my technical ability. I think they hired me because my background is in sales support, lots of analytics, lots of talk of market share and KPIs, and so they felt listened to, they felt heard, they felt like I understood, I could ask them engaging questions, and so I think it was more those soft and transferable skills that got me the jobs, even though I was a good admin, but I think we were able to communicate more effectively. So develop those soft skills and don't discount any transferable skills as well. If you have business analyst, user experience design, analytics, those are all really, really valuable skills that are going to set you apart from other people. There's a little trailhead module here, Build Your Soft Skills, so you can check that out. Find a mentor. I do mentoring. I've never had a mentor, but I do mentor myself, and I find it to be very rewarding, and hopefully the people that I've been mentoring have found it rewarding too. But I do think it's very, very beneficial, and I've all these benefits here, setting goals, broadening your perspective. Actually, I think the greatest thing about mentoring is having someone to cheer you on and give you that confidence to go out and say, you can do it. I know you can do it. And to help you, give you insights that you might not always have. So where can you do this? Well, you can use Trailblazer mentorship, but user groups sometimes set them up. The London Admin Group did. It could also be at work. It doesn't have to be a Salesforce mentor, but I do think it's very, very valuable. They can make introductions and just help ease your journey in the Salesforce ecosystem. Get involved in the community. So I think there's so much truth in right place, right time. It's not what you know, but who you know. And for me personally, that's definitely been my experience. Accidental admin. And I'll share with you one of my first experiences in the Salesforce community. So I'd been an admin for about 2 years before I went to my local user group. And at that time, it was very, very small, very cliquey. There were maybe 12 of us, maybe 3 other women. And while I was there, one of the ladies said to me, you can't be a Salesforce admin. If you were, we'd know who you were. And it was crushing. I can't even tell you. It was awful. Talk about giving someone imposter syndrome. So I didn't go back to my user group for over 2 years. In the meantime, I was on the Answers community. I went to London's Calling. That was my first community conference, and I loved it. And people were nice to me. And I met people from my local community who didn't go to the user group and made friends with them. And I started blogging and speaking at events, and people started to recognize who I was. So fast forward about 2.5 years later, when the leader stepped down, they actually contacted me to ask if I would take over the user group. Not because they really knew me personally, just because they knew me from my activities online and at conferences. So if I hadn't been doing that, they probably wouldn't have thought of me. So now I lead that group and have done since 2019, and we're friendly now. We have loads of women, and it is something that people often say is it's a really friendly, welcoming group. So get involved in the community. At my user group, several people have got new jobs just from coming. They've arrived, they've talked. Every time we have another user group, someone's got a new job out of it. So I think it's a really great thing to do. But community events, Salesforce events, Twitter, LinkedIn, Slack communities, there's lots of ways to engage. And if I could go back and do it all again, that's probably the one thing I would do differently. I would get involved sooner. Become a recognized Salesforce expert. Now this touches a little bit on personal branding. But if you want to start standing out and have people think of you as a Salesforce expert, then you need to be visible, and you can step up, showcase those skills and knowledge. You could speak at events, you could blog, you could vlog, podcast, social media. And I think the key thing that I wanted to point here is you don't have to set up your own blog. You don't have to set up your own vlog. There are lots of people doing it. Come and write for us at Salesforce Ben. We would love to hear from you. But you could also appear on other people's podcasts. You know, Francis, he has a podcast. So you don't have to start from scratch, but just get out there, start showcasing your knowledge. So speaking of personal branding and social media, there are a lot of benefits. And when we talk about personal branding, it doesn't mean that you have to become super well known. You don't have to talk at events like this, but it's being recognizable online and having a clear professional profile. It differentiates you and your unique skills and strengths against your peers. If I'm looking online, then I'm interested in the person who's sharing their advice, who is clearly a thought leader. They're going to stand out. It builds credibility and trust. It's actually amazing. If you write about something, people definitely assume that you know what you're talking about. I'm not sure that's always true, but the assumption is that you do know what you're talking about, so it does enhance your credibility. Career advancement, becoming a recognized expert, becoming trusted. People perceive you as influential, and then businesses want to work with you because they think, people know of you. Networking. This one I really like and think is important. So if you have a very clear brand then you can attract like-minded people who can support you on your career journey. They can open up doors and become friends, but I think this is very, very important. Increased job opportunities. Recruiters are out there on things like LinkedIn looking for people, and if they see that you're active, you've got lots of connections, you're communicating, they're going to be more interested in your profile. And then finally, future-proofing. So a strong personal brand can transcend Salesforce. You can transcend a specific job title or a company or even Salesforce, the technology, if you want to, by having a strong personal brand. So let's say you're a Salesforce business analyst and you decide that you want your personal brand to be about business analysis, then you can build that kind of personal brand, and that doesn't just apply to Salesforce. That can apply to anything. I'm going to pick on myself, so you can share critique afterwards. But there are a couple of things I noticed that people don't do, and they are quite obvious, but people don't seem to realize. So Salesforce-related pictures, clear professional headshot, but more importantly, use the banner image. That is premium real estate at the top of your page. Use it to show off your certifications, a picture of you speaking at a training event, but just use it to communicate, I am a Salesforce professional. That is what I am, that's what you're looking for, so that's what I'm presenting to you. Use your headline, and it doesn't have to be I don't put my job title on there, I use keywords. So I think about, if I wanted to get hired, what are recruiters looking for? And then the about section, expand on your headline, keep it short. Nobody wants to read long blocks of text. Use the featured section. Not a lot of people do, but you can add links to anything that you've participated in, blog posts, presentations. Volunteering. Make it Salesforce specific. Make it very clear, I am Salesforce. That is what I am. That's what I embody. Sell that to people. And the same applies to Twitter. Again, use those pictures to really convey that message of being a Salesforce professional. Bios are short, so keep them snappy. Use keywords, essential information. And then use your pin tweet. So I used mine just for my first year as an MVP. But matching sneezes. But you could put anything there, awards, certifications, something of you speaking or with people at an event. And then my final point here is to craft a standout resume. Again, some of this might seem obvious, but one of the questions I actually had about this talk was, I don't have a lot of hands-on experience, what can I do? One of the things is bring all of your Salesforce experience to the top, all of it. Certifications, training courses, trailheads, volunteer experience, your personal portfolio. Build a portfolio using Experience Cloud and put a link for people to go and explore. You've proved that you can administrate Salesforce. Consider adding a professional development section to the top if you don't have a lot of experience. Use it to highlight all of your Salesforce activities. Make your achievements quantifiable, not just I did this, I built this, but then what? I saved X number of hours for the service team. I made this much money. Optimize your hobbies and interests by making them Salesforce or soft skill related. This is all about playing the game. What do people want to see? And how do we make it Salesforce specific? Be aware that recruiters and hiring managers often don't know about Salesforce. They don't understand the ins and outs of the role. You've got to make it as easy as possible. Use the keywords they're looking for. Adjust your resume to match the role that you're applying for. They might be using ATS. They might be scanning CVs. So you want to put in there the specific things that they're looking for, the experience or the skills, so that they can pick up on that. Keep it consistent, clear and professional. My personal pet peeve, no spelling or grammatical mistakes. It drives me irate. 2 to 3 pages maximum. And send a cover letter. This seems to be quite contentious, but it shows extra effort. I think it's really, really appreciated and can help you stand out. And on that, with his permission, I wanted to share this with you because I am notoriously hard to impress. And when we were hiring for Salesforce Ben looking for a technical instructor, Andrew submitted his CV. And what he's actually done is, a while ago I wrote an article about how to build your resume, and I created some resume templates. He took one of those templates and he made it better, a lot better, I would say. And I was really stunned at the effort that he'd put into this. He also said that I had to tell you that he actually has 13 certifications now, just so you know. But what impressed me was his effort, his attention to detail. He had put so much time into this that I knew he was someone that I wanted to work with, because he just showed a level of dedication that other people don't. So from the second I saw your CV, you were in. There was nobody else. But I just wanted to highlight how that is so important, that sometimes it's not our technical skills, it's actually us as people, how we communicate, the effort that we show, the dedication, the professional development that we work on within ourselves. That is what can really make us stand out when we are applying for jobs and networking. So with that, that's all from me. I'm happy to take questions, although I do think we've probably run out of time. But if you want to talk to me afterwards, that's absolutely fine as well. And thank you, everyone, for attending.
Hi, I'm Anthony from DSelect. And what is DSelect as a platform? It is essentially a way to enable marketers that use the Salesforce Marketing Cloud to get more out of their data. DSelect serves both non-technical marketers, for instance those who do not know how to write SQL queries, as well as technical marketers who are very well versed in the platform but who are looking for ways to be more efficient or who just want to enable their less technical colleagues. DSelect is an official Salesforce Marketing Cloud partner that offers the leading marketing data enablement platform on AppExchange. Fortune 500 leaders and mid-sized businesses leverage DSelect's intuitive solutions to help marketing teams create more powerful segmented audiences, control marketing communication frequency, and achieve faster marketing cloud ROI without code or technical dependencies.